Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim. This is another Real Ideal Gear review. Today we're looking at the Olight Arkflex. This is a flashlight that's modeled after the Olight Arkfeld, which is a really popular light on the YouTube channels and internet, and just people getting all excited over a new release that has kind of that boxy rectangular shape to it. Some people call it a wedge. I'm not sure where the wedge is on it, but as far as the design goes, it is a much flatter design. It's an integrated battery, so you're not going to have a battery that's removable in this particular design, or with this company anyway. So this to me it's a really interesting flashlight, and I looked at the Arkfeld and the Arkflex, and the Arkflex far exceeds the Arkfeld in actual practical use. So if you're looking for the Arkfeld, I highly encourage you to take a look at the Arkflex because of the versatility that this light provides in actual use. The Arkfeld, cool, it's got a laser, you know, all the other kind of basic lighting stuff. But what you don't get is something that is highly flexible, where you can set this up hands-free. Now, the other one's hands-free, but hands-free with an adjusting head. Hands-free that you can adjust this way as well. So if you have something metal here, I can adjust this way. I can adjust this way. I have all of the possible adjustments that you could possibly want in a 180-degree sphere. Arkflex is the way to go. And the Arkfeld really is an advertising. It's just great for advertising. It's not quite the useful flashlight that it's cracked up to be. So let's just go over the outside of the flashlight first, and then we'll get into the guts of it and the lumen output and that, and with some lume shots in here as well. So the outside, the exterior, I love it. I love the dull finish, the dull black matte finish on here. I love the magnetic tail cap. This is just a great feature for any flashlight to have this. Now, you give up the tail switch. From a tactical perspective, I get it. But from a practical use perspective, if this is not a light that's intended for tactical purposes, then you really should be getting flashlights with a magnetic tail base. And that's because you can just go hands-free with it on a separate object in a different location, so it's not stuck to your head or onto your body. You can put this somewhere else and work on it, like in a car, underneath a sink, that kind of thing. I use this, I've said it a dozen times, but I'll use this backing up with a trailer. And I'll stick this on the side of the trailer like this, and it will be pointed behind me. Now, backing straight up, not a huge issue. Now, the trailer doesn't have backup lights, so this adds backup lights to that. But if I'm turning the trailer into a parking spot, I can bend this light, so I'm lighting up the area that I'm headed. And I'm probably going like this. I can light up the area in which I'm headed, so I can see those objects as I'm backing up. So anyway, the articulating head is a massive, massive game changer when it comes down to use. This articulating head is the best I've ever seen, best I've ever used. It has plenty of friction. It's not going to wobble around. It doesn't have that ratcheting look or feel to it, which I think is just garbage. At the same time, this one, it's just butter smooth. I don't know how to explain it. It's just such a good articulating head on here. So to me, that's one really good thing. The texturing on the side of the barrel, well, it's not a barrel, but on the side of the case of the flashlight is awesome. You have a little thumb or a finger indent right here. And then you also have the switch on the opposite side. So it gives you a place to index your finger location, and opposite that is going to be the user interface button. So to me, what a great way to index where the button is. I can grab this in the dark and I just know exactly where the button is. Okay. Button has a couple of dots on there for great texture, plenty of texture there. Now, the two-way clip is incredible. This is the best two-way clip I have seen on a flashlight this size. Now, when you get stepped down into something like the 14500, the AceBeam H16, this is incredible. I mean, it's a very robust, we're going to get into this flashlight here in a minute, but another very robust two-way clip. But again, we're talking about two clips that are two different sizes for two different size flashlights. Now, would you put this flashlight on a ball cap and use it, you know, for lighting the trail in front of you or reading something down at your hands? Absolutely. This is probably the heaviest I would go. I'm currently reviewing a flashlight that has a 21700 battery. And I'll tell you what, it's 21700 or maybe it's 18650. I can't remember the battery size off the top of my head right now. But that to me is just, that's pushing the limits. This is close. This is on the friendly side of that limit. But I think that other one is a little bit too much weight up top. especially in the bill of a cap, which it just wants to pull your cap down, obviously. So the exterior of this flashlight is incredible. Now the lens, you have some etching in the lens for some very wide light dispersal. So let's get into the lumens of this flashlight. So the stats in the lumens are, it has 1,000 lumens at the turbo setting, 400 at high, 100 at medium, 15 lumens at low, and 1.5 lumens at moonlight mode. So you've got a great range of options when it comes to using this flashlight. Makes it a great everyday kind of carry flashlight. Again, I don't think it's pocket carry, but it could be an everyday carry if you're using like a, sling packer or whatever. So to me, that range of light output is great. Now, what's even better, and here's some video of this, is the light dispersion. So call it candela, you can call it the distance, the throw, whatever you want to call it. But the corner to edge coverage of this flashlight, when it comes to spraying light everywhere, is incredible. So this is one of the best CQ flashlights I've come across, because the dispersal is great. 1,000 lumens is awesome. Now, the further you back up from the target, from whatever it is that you're looking at, the further away that thing is from you, the more that this light begins to kind of show its weakness, which is it doesn't throw very far. It doesn't have a spot really at all. It is just this blanket of light that goes every which direction. So you'll see this in this other video, if you haven't already, of this light in the woods. It does a great job out to about 10 yards, maybe 15 yards. And beyond that, it struggles because the light is spreading out so quickly over such a large area, because it's a cone, and as that cone gets wider and the further away it gets from you, the less light you're actually able to illuminate things with. So that's where it's a weakness thing, but it's the way it's designed. I mean, you can't have really the best of both worlds without suffering from a spotlight in the middle that's blinding in close quarter type situations, or you have this really wide floodlight that just really sucks at anything past 20 yards. So that's the strength of this flashlight, is a definite close quarters flashlight. This is one of the best close quarter flashlights I have ever come across. Now, what are the things that I'm not real thrilled with? That was the lumen output. You got the candela feel for it as well. The candelas, let's see here, I think they 1900 candela, right? So this flashlight's 1900 candela. This Ace Beam H16 is 2700 candela. Just to give you an idea of the difference in beam shape. This is definitely close quarters. That's what it's intended to do, anything up close. So what do I not like? What don't I like about this? The magnetic charging proprietary system. And I've seen now, I think Olight, I haven't heard this officially, but I think Olight is switching away from this magnetic charging system into, I think it's Type-C. I don't know that for sure yet. But I've seen now a video or two that talk about a new charging system that's not magnetic charging on the tail cap. So I think that's great. I can't stand this. This is, from an everyday use perspective, a pain in the butt. And it's proprietary. So I can't use any other charging system. I can't take the battery out of here to charge it up. Now, at least the S1R, you could take the battery out. This is the Olight S1R Baton 2. I can unscrew this, take the battery out, and put this in a battery charger. If I don't have the magnetic, this is also a magnetic tail cap charging system, right? So that's where that proprietary system on a captured integrated battery is a terrible idea. If this is integrated, it should be Type-C. That's just the way it should be. I don't know if that's a poem that I just created or not. But anyway, that's one big ding on this. The other one is, and this goes back to the lumen and the output. Now, the cost of this flashlight, I'll put the cost down below. It's not cheap. It's not super expensive. It's kind of in that upper end, in my opinion, of a flashlight that's in that everyday carry, like just for especially CQ. But if we compare this to the Ace Beam H16, and let's go through this. I'm going to put these both up here. So the turbos on both of these are 1,000 lumens. Let me briefly say this because I might have a separate video on this. So real quick, and I've got a video here. You can see the link up above here, but I'm going to go into more depth on that. But the turbo mode is, as far as priority goes, it's more important than the moonlight mode as far as comparisons go between flashlights. I don't care that much about moonlight mode between flashlights other than it's low enough. In other words, 5 lumens or less is my ideal sweet spot. Okay, that's really the only comparison I'm looking for. I know every flashlight out there is going to run for hours, if not days, on moonlight mode. Okay, that's really, it's one of those kind of things like, the Ace Beam X75, 80,000 lumens on the turbo end. Like, great. How much more significant is 80,000 lumens than 40,000 lumens. You know, it just, I'm sure there's some nuances there, but you get the idea. All right. What I use the most, and I get into this with that other video, and that is the high and the medium modes. That's where the comparison to me really needs to take place. So let's take a look at these two flashlights at that mode. And so for the high mode on the Arkflex, this one is at 400 lumens for 90 minutes. The AceBeam H16, 310 lumens for 2 hours. Okay, so that is what would that be, a 33% increase, and you're only gaining 30 minutes. Well, you're losing 30 minutes of time, but the give and take there it's somewhat proportional. Okay, so you have lower lumen output on the AceBeam and longer runtime, and a higher lumen output with a shorter runtime when you compare these two. Now, the next one is the one that I think really tips the scales towards the AceBeam. What really frustrates me about Olight, and that's the medium mode. So this is 130 lumens for 8 hours. This is 100 lumens for 7 hours. Head scratcher. I would not have expected that. Look at the size of the battery difference here, 14500 versus whatever they got going on inside here, probably close to an 18650. And this one outruns it at medium. So the two dings I have for this flashlight are significant. One is the magnetic charging system, which is proprietary, and the second one is the medium runtime. I just don't see how a flashlight this size ends up running that way. So overall, I love the flashlight, love the design, I love the selection of outputs, and all by itself, not a big issue. But when I bring in a competitor, and that competitor is about half the price, much more compact, has the same high end, has a very similar low end. And again, I don't care how long they run because they're going to run for hours. But when you look at the meat of this, the middle modes, the high and the medium modes, it really tends to go towards the AceBeam. So why spend twice the money? Now, you get the articulating head. This is the flashlight. If someone at AceBeam would make this with an articulating head, this would possibly be the best EDC flashlight out in the market today, period. Just hands down. Great clip, the whole thing. But this isn't about the AceBeam. So you get the idea when it comes down to the Olight. I love it. It's a great overall versatile flashlight, just a little disappointing on a comparison level. So highly recommend the flashlight. Put in your comments down below what you think of this flashlight. Let me know if you have an Olight. I love Olight. I think it's a great brand. I just think it's kind of overrated now as far as its capacity to do certain things. They do come out with some cool things. I think the Arkflex is the way to go. The Arkfeld is overrated, and quite frankly, just not as useful as this flashlight is. But I'd love to hear what your comments are on this, and take a look at the other playlist for the flashlights that I have out on Wednesdays. I'd love to hear what you have to say on those flashlights as well. And if you have any ideas on flashlights, let me know. If you're looking for anything like this, I am selling reviewed flashlights because I'm not keeping all these flashlights. So if you're looking for a reviewed flashlight at a far reduced price, check out my webpage, realidealgear.com. And you'll see those sometimes paired up with Casio watches because, you know, some of these really cheap flashlights and really cheap watches, it's like put them together and you get a small package, you know, a starter kit for EDC or whatever, just a beater kit, that kind of thing. So check it out, realidealgear.com. So there you go. My name is Tim. This has been another Real Ideal Gear review. We'll catch you guys next time.